Hi and welcome to Think Serenity. My name is Hayley Phillips, and being blessed with the power of thought and the gift of the gab, I bring to you my monthly talk aimed to help others to concentrate on their own personal well-being. Because let's face it, with all the stresses of today, we sometimes need to sit down and concentrate on ourselves in a completely unselfish way, or else we mentally explode or implode. Meltdowns. They are not pretty. Plus, we need to remember the fundamental truth that we can't take care of others until we take care of ourselves. So let's get into it. The topic for this month, or the month of January, I know I'm recording it in February, but the month for January was acceptance. Why? Because by understanding where we are in life, with all its ups and downs, we're better able to move forward in a positive direction. That means accepting ourselves with all the bad along with all the good. Now, so you know why I'm putting these talks out there into the void that is online social media, I thought I'd give you a little background into myself. I've always grown up with negative thinking my entire life. As a result, I've suffered and endured with both depression and anxiety for the majority of my life. And over the course of this period, I've learned a lot about myself, the power of thought, and the power of repressed feelings. So I am a completely ordinary human being with a normal life. I want to put out there that I am Christian. I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. My faith means a lot to me, but I want to reassure you that although it has influenced me a lot, these talks will not be centered on preaching, but in dealing specifically with mental health. I also really love puns. I'm addicted to chocolate, and I enjoy binge watching television shows and movies with great moral stories and about overcoming trials. So that's just a little bit on me so that you can kind of get to know me. Feel free to send me some puns. It'll be great. So let's get on to the topic of acceptance. I kind of feel like this is the start of some sort of addiction recovery program, because the first part of those programs, it always talks about accepting that you have a problem. But it's so true. So let's look at the definition of accepting ourselves from dictionary.com. I always got dictionary.com app on me to look at definitions of words to really understand and express myself better. So the definition of the word accept is to regard as normal, suitable, or usual. So when we accept ourselves, we need to understand that we as human beings are flawed. We have weaknesses and we have flaws, but we also have remarkable strengths of character and of personality. The human condition is full of trials, whether they're mental, emotional, biological, physical, or even spiritual. So by viewing ourselves as flawed individuals and by accepting that it is who we are in this present moment, it helps us to take responsibility of our current state. But more importantly, it helps us to identify that it's only our current state where we are now and not who we want to be, which is better or our more authentic self. So now I thought a lot about how we as individuals progress through life. I suppose we're even looking into the meaning or the purpose of life in a way, but to keep it super simple, life is about progressing, finding our purpose and finding joy in living life to the fullest, especially with our families. But let's bring it back to when we were children. So when we were children, life was about playing and discovering and learning about new things, learning how to interact with other people in a way that is nice and fair. And as we grew into teens, we learned more about contributing to society, being responsible for our actions, especially within that society. So when we were teenagers, we kind of wanted to prove that we were old enough and that we were responsible enough. And basically, we kind of had that opinion that we knew everything. Now, when we transition into the early years of adulthood, our progression develops into learning more about relationships with others, be it familial or romantic or friendships. So we tended to explore the world and discover our purpose. We've gained valuable insight from the mistakes we've made in our life through the various milestones, and we begin to understand our weaknesses and how certain events in our life have played either a positive or a detrimental impact on who we are. For example, a parent's divorce, the death of a loved one, choosing to speak up, being rebellious, first loves, passions, and many more. Now, during this period of the awkward teens or even the transition into adulthood, we begin to evaluate ourselves, and it's almost always in a negative way. Why? Because to compliment yourself for a strength makes you vain, egotistical, or in other words, or in the words of my primary and high school bullies, it makes you a show-off, which is this constant trend through our society that I feel like it needs to change. Now, for some reason, we've been conditioned in life to only accept the bad in ourselves. So that is that the opinions of others is of more importance than our opinion of ourselves. So now with the emergence of social media, it even adds to this. People only accept you for the amount of likes on your Facebook posts, on the amount of love hearts that you get on your perfectly positioned and artificial selfies on Instagram. So people then struggle in finding their own identity and feel like they're being labeled as being authentic or being fake. So with this idea of social conditioning, of course we're going to get depressed and anxious easy, which is why I want to delve into mental health a lot more. Our society really isn't helping us. So when it came to my mental well-being, it took a while for me to accept that I was going through depression again and that I needed help. I didn't want to go back on medication, and I didn't want to see a psychologist because to me, and obviously to the world at large, doing that meant that I was weak. And guess what? My friends, the world is wrong. And it's so different from what it used to be. There are so many more pressures on people living an ordinary life that is absolutely ridiculous. It's so easy to get emotionally overwhelmed. Ignoring my mental health only made it worse. And it's only when I reached rock bottom that I started to actually take responsibility. So I made the step and I visited my doctor and I realized a few things. One, depression and anxiety is only temporary. I just need a few extra life skills and tools to kind of correct my bad habits. The first was recognizing that my body was under so much pressure that my brain just wasn't functioning as it should. And that meant I needed to correct it. And so I did that by changing my diet, increasing my water consumption, exercising, and a wonderful tool I call antidepressants, which I term as a temporary measure to help balance a person out until their body is healthy enough to function on its own. So I know some people may think that antidepressants aren't a way to go, or there's this stigma that society doesn't support anybody who do take antidepressants, and I know that there are fantastic ways that you can do it naturally, but I feel like we need to take that stigma away from antidepressants and even anti-anxiety pills, because they're just a temporary tool until our body can function in the right way. So the second thing that I kind of realized from visiting my doctor was that I needed to take responsibility for the way that I thought. Now, I'm a Virgo, I'm a classic overthinker. Honestly, Virgos were the pickiest of worrywarts, and we kind of like to be prepared for everything and absolutely anything. So this meant that it was time for me to recognize that I needed to visit a psychologist to change my thought patterns. So I started visiting a psychologist, and it was a really tough thing for me to do, and I know it'll probably be a really tough thing for you to do. But the skills that they have taught me actually helped me to retrain my brain and to actually ease my nervous system in times that I was experiencing high stress. And the effects were absolutely amazing. So acceptance is something that's really important for us as individuals to kind of help us get back on track. We need to accept our circumstances, our health, our decision making, our flaws, our thoughts for who we are right now without judging ourselves harshly. Merely knowing that we're just human and that we're never going to be perfect. And instead of focusing on making changes of who we want to become, we can focus more on our authentic self. So just don't judge. Just accept that in this moment, you can think kindly of yourself even though you're full of flaws. You need to catch yourself when you're doing something wrong, apologize for your weaknesses, and make a change to do better. It's better for your well-being. So I hope you've learned something from this talk. Stay tuned for the month of February, where I'm going to be talking about having the courage to talk to someone as a part of your mental well-being. So stay tuned for that.